Hey, everybody. We're
Happy New
back.
Year.
Happy New Year. We are back, wine on an empty stomach, to share with you New York City versus Relaya and the Or, aka The World We Make by N.K. Jemisin. If
Boo
you
boo.
remember, we covered The City We Became um, a few months back. So this is the sequel. First thoughts, Nikki?
I'm trying to figure out if this is. I meant to look this up before and I totally forgot. And it has nothing to do with the book and everything to do with book club. Is this our anniversary? I think we're having an
Is
anniversary
it?
at this moment. I think we are. Because, yeah, maybe.
Happy
Well, I
anniversary
think it
to
might be the
us.
anniversary was supposed to be one of our
Oh,
first book
but with our
clubs,
cursed book.
the cursed book. Yeah, but I think it is. So happy anniversary to us. Woo-hoo.
Happy anniversary. It's been a pleasure doing book club
Yes.
with you.
Yeah. Streamed 1 year ago. Look at
Wow.
that. Who fears death? Um,
Wow.
yeah. Okay.
Aw. Happy
Yeah.
anniversary, Nick.
Happy anniversary. Okay. My first thoughts on this book. I like binge listened to it yesterday. It was really intense.
I did too over the last like 3 days.
Yeah, it was a lot. But I have to say, shout out to Robin Miles because
Isn't she
I didn't know
great?
she had that many accents in her bag.
Isn't she great? I
Yeah.
really, really enjoy her reading.
It's just like
I
all of
really
the
liked it a
accents
lot.
like across the boroughs was like
Excuse
on
me.
point. And like just like the difference between a Staten Island accent and a Brooklyn accent or a Queens
Hmm.
accent or it was just amazing. Um, so shout out to her for that. But my thoughts on this book, I think the first time that I read it, I was like, oh, I like this better than the first one. And now that I've gone back, I actually like the first one more, but I do still really enjoy this book.
I also liked the first one more, but did not dislike this one. Don't get me wrong. Because I
Yeah.
actually really did. I really loved the story a lot. Um, I found the first one more exciting, but I think it's
Mm,
because we were just finding these people, like finding the other city avatars, and trying to wake up the main avatar and all of that stuff. I thought was really really exciting. Excuse
hmm.
me. With this one, I was really looking forward to meeting some new cities, and I'm glad that we got to. Um, I wish that the the ending was a bit more climactic. I think is my only thing.
Yeah, I felt like I mean I know that she said that this book could have been can be possibly the series was originally intended to be three and then she's made it two, and I feel like there are some parts that I felt like, oh, I wish this would have been like another book and this part came afterwards because I don't know, I wanted I guess maybe I wanted more time with the other cities, or maybe I wanted more time with Manny and figuring out his mysterious background. Um,
Yeah.
like there's that whole thing that part in the middle that kind of feels like a vignette where like Padmini gets the job and she's working, like that whole summary of what's happening in Brooklyn's campaign to me was like I felt very squished and condensed, and I would have liked maybe more.
It seems like it's left open for a third book though, because
Yeah, she said that.
we don't know yet if Chicago will come alive, even though it seems like it will. We don't know yet if Brooklyn wins the mayoral campaign.
Mm-hmm.
We don't know what happens for Relia next.
Yeah,
Now that she's an actual city,
crazy.
there's still a lot of questions that can be answered where the book feels complete. The story, I mean,
Mm-hmm.
feels complete, but it does feel open with enough. It does feel like it's open with enough questions to have a third book.
Right.
Did you
Yeah.
have a favorite part?
Do I have a favorite part? I had a favorite portrayal of a character.
Who?
Paris, spot on. Everything about Paris, like I was just listening to the accent and just the attitude, the clipped way that she was speaking. She was my favorite, even though we only saw her for a half second. Um,
Yeah.
but I did really enjoy um watching Jersey City kind of do her thing. And I did like the interludes with Belle because you kind of forget about Belle. You know, he's like, you know, the roommate to be, and then they go through this thing, and then he kind of just disappears. So I was like that we got to experience that, and you got, I don't know, I feel like you got deeper into the city in each of the boroughs in this book than we did in the last one. Um, it was just it was just kind of surreal to kind of read these things because N.K. Jemisin has said that she had this book planned and she'd written many of these things before 2016 and before some of these catchphrases and slogans that
Yeah.
we hear throughout the book were like taking off in
Well, you
somebody
know what's
else's
funny
campaign.
is it's what it could be a possibility is Make America Great Again first happened in Parable of the Sower, or is it Parable of the
Oh, right,
Talent?
right,
Parable
right.
of the Talents, I think, is where the campaign is Make America Great Again, and this was in the '90s, long before we ever met that orange guy,
Yeah.
he who shall not be named, and so it's possible that she drew from that to do Make New
Hmm.
York Great Again. It's very possible, and
Yeah.
it's just funny that it just felt extremely realistic now that we've had that as a slogan. Well, make America great again, but that we've had that as a slogan. I also found it kind of funny that the followers were called friendlies because it's
Yeah.
kind of ironic.
Yeah.
So we're absolutely not friendly. Um, excuse me. Two moments that had me rolling were towards the end. One, when Bronca is pulling Venetia away from the monster and then turns around to do a sidekick and Tim's materialize on her feet. That had me
Yeah.
that had me dying. Like I laughed out loud at that. And the other thing that had me like almost screaming was when they were attacking Relia and they had pigeons carrying rats, carrying roaches as an attack.
Yeah.
Those were like
Yeah.
two moments that like I would love to see animated.
Oh, yeah. I think that's what I felt about this too. Just the whole time that I was watching is that I could see it. That I
Yes,
was reading as like I
same,
could see it. This one I was
same.
like, oh, I can see this book. Like the whole thing with the tentacles and the attack on the ferry.
Oh
Like,
my gosh,
oh,
the attack on the ferry was really exciting too. You know, that slow realization that water
mhm,
is what
conduit.
a conduit for them,
Hmm.
and like just realizing, oh shit, I'm not safe on the ferry, even though the ferry is New York, because all she has to do is capsize us, and then almost
Yeah.
killing Iceland, because I thought that they wouldn't do something to hurt Iceland because they need her, but Venetia was
Hmm.
right, they don't need Iceland anymore.
Yeah.
Sorry, my laptop unplugged.
That's okay. Yeah, no, it was I think it was the excitement level, like where you needed it came through. And it just like I felt like I don't know. I want to say it felt more personal in this book. Like I just feel like we got to spend more time with each avatar, like in their burrow, and it felt more personal in a way. Like all the stuff that was like I love Padmini's family. they're
Yeah.
they were
Yeah.
cracking me up. I felt like that was so on brand. And just like watching those dynamics and just kind of you get the diversity of queens as she's walking around her burrow, and then also just like watching her deal with the nonsense like in her workplace,
Hmm.
so frustrating and so annoying. um but that's also very, it's stuff that we can all kind of relate to. We've all had coworkers or, you know would be saboteurs in our careers.
Hmm.
So yeah.
I mean, one of the things I've said about working from home, one of the best things is the lack of microaggressions.
Right. Padimi, she's not like her.
Padimi. Oh my gosh. Every
Like,
time he
come
said
on.
that, like, look at the letters. Pad
Yeah.
Mini. Or when the ICE officers call her Pad Mini. Like, come on. You know that's not her name. Nobody's
Yeah.
gonna be named Pad Mini. Like that just sounds crazy.
It's just crazy.
Even before I heard the audiobook, I read the name as Padmini.
Yeah, me too. Like, how just, I don't know. Reading's fundamental.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah. um, I kind of wanted to see more Manny in New York.
Mhm.
What did you think about his mother?
His mother, I would love to see portrayed on screen. I know that her shoes were absolutely, you know, flawless, and that her nails are flawless, and that like her wrists are dainty and delicate, and she stirs things like this
I
and
pictured
pat
her.
your lips.
Yeah, I pictured her as like young Diane Carroll,
Hmm.
just like full on dynasty, with her fur throw over her shoulders and
Yes,
being
so
casual
glamorous but
about it.
dangerous, you know?
Glamour, yes. Knives up her sleeves, dangerous, but
Yeah.
you know,
I loved meeting his mom.
yeah. Like if she smoked cigarettes, she would have one of those flat compact cases that you flip open,
Mhm.
and and maybe with even the holder,
Yeah, I
because
could
she
see her
doesn't
with the
want to ruin her
holder.
lips.
Yeah. I love it. Yeah, I would love to meet her more. And it's just, I think that's the biggest. It's like, so Manny's background is a mystery, right? We could learn all these. We learned that he's loaded, right? Super duper
Yeah,
rich. He's got
extremely
connections that
rich.
he doesn't even want to explore, because from what he can remember, he's like, oh no, if I go digging too deeply, they're gonna know, and this could be problematic.
Yeah,
Um,
it's
but
shady.
what I don't understand, and that I think that I wanted, which would love to explore more, is like, wait, so he left his city understanding that New York was going to awaken, and was his job to become the main avatar? Was he supposed to become Neek? And then how does they have this knowledge of this? How does his mom know about this?
I
How
don't
is this
think that
information?
I don't think he knew he was supposed to become New York. I think that he knew he was supposed to become Chicago and was trying to
Hmm.
escape it. But the question of how his mother knew, because remember
How do they
she
know about the
recognizes the woman who's going to
awakening?
become DC.
Yeah.
That's another thing we can get into in book 3. Like I want to see Chicago wake up and who becomes Chicago. Like
Hmm.
have like has someone in his family experienced this or something? Is his mother a city from somewhere else?
Hmm.
Is she another city in
Yeah.
Illinois maybe? Like that's something I would definitely want to see. But yeah, I think he well no, I don't think he knew he was supposed to become Chicago. I think he just wanted to leave his family because when he got to New York, he had no idea what was happening. So if he knew he was
Hmm.
going to become Chicago, he would have knew what was happening when he got to New York.
But maybe not, because he lost all his memory as soon as he crossed into the city.
Hmm.
So even if he did know that he was supposed to, his like the hard drive was wiped clean.
Yeah, the city just cleaned it out.
They're like, yeah, no. So interesting.
Oh, I love it.
I do like Manny. I love how they all describe him, like rusting serial killer face,
Yeah.
or he like he's too kind to be like, impossibly kind, but I forgot how they described him.
Or how at the fight between cities, he didn't even use city magic, he threw knives. Like, bruh,
uh,
like you
and
just
yeah, and
brought a
all
couple
those things that he's
knives.
like casually, like they said that earlier, and I forgot what he was doing, where they said that they looked at him and his hands looked like he was about to drop something out of his sleeve.
Yeah.
Yeah, Manny's so dangerous.
And also Neek notices the scars on him that look like sewn up
Hmm.
stabbing scars, and one looked like a sewn up bullet wound. He figures he must have lost a kidney if he was wounded there. AK says, bet money Manny was a collector for his mom.
He was
If
something.
by collector you mean enforcer, then yeah, definitely comes off as, enforcer.
Hmm.
Also, here's this comment. It is it possible to be two cities, and how complicated would that be for Manny? I don't think it would be possible to be two cities. I think attempting would drive you mad.
The pizza battles alone would drive you crazy.
No, I think it would drive you mad to become two completely different cities. I don't think it's possible for
That's a lot to be checked into.
I mean, look how hard it is for there to be just one New York. There can't be. They had to break it up into boroughs
Hmm.
because even that was too much. Chicago's not like a little city. So I don't think a person could do
And when you
both.
finally how did you feel when you realized that it was Chicago that he was meant to become?
I thought to myself, duh, of course it's Chicago.
Right? Did it feel like it felt so appropriate? I'm like, oh, you make a lot more sense now.
Yeah, and I don't know why I felt like duh, it's Chicago. I can't pinpoint what exact moment made me feel
Hmm.
like that, but I definitely thought like duh, of course he's Chicago. Like
Of
what
course
other
he's
city would he
Chicago.
be? He's
That's
Chicago.
the same reaction I had too, and I don't know why it made sense, but something about it made sense. I think I just took like an amalgamation of all the people who I know from Chicago. I was like, oh, Yeah,
They
it
all have
feels like
knives up their
Manny.
sleeves.
Yes. And crime lord mothers. Ugh.
Yeah. See, I want to see Chicago come alive now, and like what
I want to
Manny's
see so
involvement would
many of
be.
those cities.
Did you
Um,
want Manny to leave and give up being Manhattan?
no, I didn't. I wanted him to stay and make me happy.
I wanted him to leave. I wanted him to go become Chicago and become, the main avatar if in case there had to be others, and
Hmm.
go into it already knowing all of this stuff, and for
Yeah.
Madison to become New York City, the
Oh,
taxi driver.
interesting. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I love that we saw her again, and I love that
Yeah, that
because I
she
missed
keeps
her.
getting like pulled into it and has no idea why.
Mm-hmm. Has no
And
idea
the
why.
other guy was it Douglas Acevedo or something like that. The other guy that he suggested, the one who
For
for it to become New York, to become Manhattan
oh,
rather.
oh, I can't remember now.
He's the guy who in the first book offered him water and stuff when he
Oh,
fainted.
the one on the train.
The
Yeah,
one
yeah,
on the
yeah, yeah, yeah.
train, yeah, he had recommended him, but I really could have seen Madison becoming Manhattan. Like her name is Madison, it's already there,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and she's already shown up so much and
Yeah.
unknowingly helped the city protect itself.
Hmm.
So I was hoping that he suggested Madison. I was hoping that like he'd leave and become Chicago, and then
She would become
she would
Manhattan.
become Manhattan, and he and Neek could still have a relationship like Hong Kong and Sao Paulo do.
Yeah, that's true. The on
They're
again,
still
off
both
again.
immortal cities, and they
Yeah.
can obviously travel. He'll just have to bring like a Chicago style pizza with him when he comes in case he gets hurt so he can heal himself.
Right? Ah, hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny. I feel like I don't have a lot to say about this book.
No?
And I loved. I think it's because it was just like it was. I read it immediately when it came out, and then I re-listened, and it was like kind of a whirlwind. Um, but you know what I did like? I like the glimpse into just like the fabric of time and space, right? Like with the
Yeah.
tree, like we find out that it's like a forest of these like spent worlds. But that part was really, really fun, and I like that we got because she does science fiction really well, and I think in the books that we've covered, we haven't really gotten into the sci-fi part of it.
Hmm.
Um, and that was a really fun kind of like nod to some of these other things. Like, what's the name of that short story that I love? The bowling ball and gods. Hold on.
Oh, the one with the black hole in the coffee can?
Yes,
Yeah, I can't remember what it's called.
I'm gonna look it up. Hold on.
Um, the other, what else was I really into?
Playing nice with God's bowling ball.
Playing what? Playing nice?
Playing nice with God's bowling ball.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
that's a great short story by N.K. Jemisin. If you like, it's my favorite. Check that out.
What did you think about Atlantis? Or finding out that that was Atlantis?
I always love an Atlantean reference in stories, and I thought it was a really clever way of doing it. I thought that it was a really interesting way to kind of just show the consequences of your city being erased from public knowledge on purpose, you know,
Right.
um, and to see like the dangers that could bring. Um, I think Atlantis makes perfect sense. It's in everybody's lexicon as like the lost city
Hmm.
already. And it makes sense that it reminds me of something that Brandon Sanderson wrote, of course. Elantris, not
My
Atlantis.
doorbell's ringing.
Nobody's home. Go
Should I
away.
go answer it?
I don't know. You expecting is it food?
I don't think so.
They'll leave it out or they'll ring again.
Yeah. Okay. I wasn't expecting anyone to come over, so
Yeah, this would be the part like in Mr. Rogers, you have a little guest.
it rang again. Should I answer it?
Let's go see who's at the
All
door,
right.
guys.
You keep talking. I'm gonna go see.
This is the part where me and my puppet talk to each other about how much we love this book. Yeah, no, I thought Atlantis was a super cool spin on it, and we don't get to hear much about it. Not that we don't get to hear much about it, but it's the type of place that is so popular And when we do hear about it, it's always in some weird kind of context. So I thought I'm just rambling to stall for time. But I did like that it was Atlantis, and I did like to see that we get all these other cities and this notion that the universe is collapsing upon itself and being impacted by everything that they do. That's crazy. I like the metaphysical aspects of this book. And I guess I should just keep talking about space and time. I'm trying to think of what else I really like about Atlantis. I like that it was a place that was catching everybody's attention too. Like the fact that Padmini was traveling there woke everybody up, and it was enough. Yeah, the wider universe really does interest me now because of it. I have to cough. Yeah, the wider universe is really interesting because we don't think about that. It's like we're not until we see the tree and we get the sense that, the Ur have been doing this for so long. And when you find out, like, they're just trying to keep a world that's like totally within their control, that doesn't change, it stays the same, because that perpetuates the sameness of their own existence. That's kind of crazy. And I guess it makes sense for what they were trying to do, but it is a little bit scary. Oh.
It was the census.
What?
Yeah, I was like, now's not a good time, because he was, a little persistent to keep ringing. So I'm like, all right, maybe I should go look. It was the census. Like, I was like, I'm in the middle of a recording. Can you go?
Yeah. Already? Didn't we just? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Betray my ignorance with political things.
Anyway, finish what you were saying.
Oh, I rambled a lot. I was just saying that Atlantis is a cool location to pick for this, and then it was really interesting to see just kind of the consequences of being written out of history, but also to know that with those fractal trees, that these are all the attempts or have unsuccessful attempts to replicate a world in which nothing changes, and create a world in which everything stays the same. And that they failed at it so many times. You think they would have given up by now, but they're just going to do what they do at some point.
And the conversation about it at the end, where Padmini's like, "You guys are dumb. Like, stop doing this," and their reaction is just kind of like, yeah,
We
I
don't
guess."
know
They're like, "Well, yeah, I guess you're right. Fine, bye."
Yeah, so weird. I'm like, how are
I
you
thought
guys?
It was going to be a much bigger fight from the
Yeah, like they're realizing that they're just like, but how many trees? How many universes?
Like, how many times have we done this? And of course, it's New York. That is the one that's like, nah. Yeah. Nah, fuck that noise. We're not doing this. Like, of course it was New York. Here's a comment. The wider universe really interests me now. Yeah. I hope that for some reason she just decides, like, fuck it, I'm gonna write the third book, and that we get to see more of the other cities. I would love to see more of London.
London is super interesting.
I enjoyed London.
And I love that she admits that she's insane.
Yes.
She's like, oh yeah, no, I'm crazy. I'm like,
yeah, I am mad. Yeah. Don't get it twisted. I am mad.
Yeah, I love that. London was really fun to see.
And then we get the explanation about London eating the other avatars, and Neek goes like, the fork motion, and she's like, oh God, no, I'm not a cannibal. Like, I ate their essence. Because, in the last book, they're like, he might have to eat you guys. And they're all like, excuse me?
Yeah. I also really enjoyed Egypt, or Cairo, sorry.
Cairo. I'm trying to remember Cairo.
With the cats.
No, that was Istanbul.
Oh, Istanbul. Oops. Cairo was the one who answered the phone all pissed off at night.
Yeah, the cats was Istanbul. I enjoyed Istanbul.
Sorry.
I enjoyed Istanbul as well. And I liked that he was just kind of like this friendly old man that goes around feeding the cats. And then
Yeah.
oh, and seeing the cats that were covered in the tendrils or the guidelines was super creepy.
Super creepy. It was something that I decided immediately that I don't want to see portrayed. Like I'll skip that part. It'll gross me out. Um, but it was good because he's like seeing the one city who's actually like seeing that this problem is happening, and just like aware of it. It's like, oh no, we should meet with you guys. Unlike
Mhm.
Tokyo, who was like, oh yeah, well, you've given me it, and we didn't know that that's how the enemy is like, infiltrating systems and like public systems, and we'll look into it, but I'll have my own people do it. Like,
I mean, they made Tokyo the head of an entertainment company, so
hmm
I'll have my people look into it is very
yeah,
apt.
yeah, exactly.
Oh, AK says, I'd like to see Istanbul's full backstory.
Yeah.
I'd like to see it, but not directly from Istanbul, but in like glimpses, to
Mm,
get pieces of it as the story unfolds. So if we get one that's like a wider story, I mean, what would be the villain though if we had a third book? Because Valaya is now her own city. She's no longer
mm-hmm.
working for the R. So who would be the big bad? Or what would be the big bad?
It's a
If
good
the Or's
question.
given up and gone away, what happens next?
Right.
I don't know.
I don't know. It's a good question.
That's what we're kind of missing if there was a third book.
Yeah. Do they return? I don't
Like, yeah, does Relia just return as a villain and just decide like, or is it somebody trying to colonize?
know. AK. Something older and more foul.
Like
um,
maybe like a I guess a universal civil war, like planet civil war, where the different countries
mm,
start fighting each other.
some other that or some other
Different countries
construct.
fight each other, and Manny has to go become Chicago so that the American younger cities have a way to fight back against the older cities who are trying to put their ways on them.
Hmm.
Because remember how many of them refused to even believe there was a problem, those really, really
Right.
old cities.
Right. Right. Yeah, and they always talk about just like how much trouble it is to get motivate an old city to like take any kind of action.
Hmm.
Um, oh, and you know what I really enjoyed? Just the acknowledgement. Like we see Atlantis, right? But the acknowledgement of like the cities that have come and gone before, like
Yeah.
anything was I woke up that like to their knowledge. Um, I forgot if it was Paris who said it, or I think it was Paris who was telling um Branca that colonialism was a mass casualty event for them, and that
Mm.
they're still mourning the loss of so many of these cities. And I thought I really that part for me was really poignant. It like stuck out. I was like, yeah,
Like,
all
what
these
are these
cities that have lost because I want to call him Cairo because Istanbul mentions it too. He talks about Cahokia. And he was like,
cities?
"Oh, yeah, no, you're not the first American city to awake, but you're the first one in a long time. But I'm not going to
Right.
break your brain with that information."
It would break my brain absolutely.
Yeah.
The idea that like the world is just rewritten where that city never existed.
Mm-hmm.
That would absolutely break my brain. I feel like I was reading something recently that kind of had that concept. Or was I watching something? I have to think about that. Um, yeah, I can't remember what it was.
Hmm.
A civil war between the avatars. That's exactly what I mean. But I mean like the young avatars versus the old. I think would make sense. If like a because they're saying like all these cities, there's been so many multiple births recently,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
whereas there hadn't been one in like 500 years. And so these new cities are going to have new ideas and
Mm-hmm.
try to do things differently.
Must
But
be
then I
exhausting
don't want
having to
any
run
old.
around and tutor these new cities.
I know, but I
But I
also
feel
don't
like
want
it's
any of
like,
the cities to die.
hmm,
I don't. So it would have to be a very gentle civil war.
I
Civil
don't
war
know
in
how
which
that
they
works.
pull their punches. Maybe Relia just continues to be evil and wants to
I
start
mean,
eating some avatars.
like we get a little bit more of her. That's true, right? Basically, we're given the "I'm not bad, I'm just drawn that way" defense. Like she's like, "This is
Yeah.
what I was programmed to do.
Yeah.
Um, this is what I was made to do. This is what I've built to do." And somehow, which she says that there's always a price for creativity.
Hmm.
And it's really funny because like she actually becomes the thing that she's like fighting against. She's changed. She's doing things differently. Like she made a friend.
Right.
She's made a friend with the
A
city.
friend that she was still willing to
A
kill.
friend.
Yeah.
We use that loosely.
Yeah.
Um, yeah.
But
What did you
even her,
what,
huh?
go ahead.
I was gonna say even her giving Aislinn a choice about the guidelines was like something new for her
Hmm.
when they were in the restaurant and she ordered her clam pie and it was like they made like a California pizza kitchen version.
Yeah, gross. I am curious about this pizza now, and next time I go to Staten Island, maybe I will try it. Because I didn't know it existed until this book. So
Yeah, I'm not going to. I just I don't eat
I'll
clam.
report back.
Yeah, you
I'll
tell me
report
how
back.
it is. What's funny is I like California Pizza Kitchen, but I don't really consider it pizza. I don't
I
know
don't
what
think
I
I've ever
consider it.
been.
It's nothing great, but
It's like the
I like
McDonald's of
it's like
pizza.
yeah, yeah.
Mm.
Where like you're not really craving like you're not craving a burger, you're craving McDonald's, or like you're not craving Mexican food, you're craving Chipotle. It's kind of like that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like you're not craving
Interesting.
pizza, you're just kind of craving California Pizza Kitchen. I always get like the
Interesting.
same two things there. I've never tried
What
any of their other food. I
what,
always
what
get
do you got?
a thin crust barbecue chicken pizza or the thin crust garlic chicken pizza. It's like a white sauce pizza. Those are like my two oops. Those are my two go-tos there. But it's not like a place where it's like, oh, let's go get some pizza and go to
Right.
California Pizza Kitchen. It's like
Huh.
there used to be one in Manhattan, right on Park Ave, and it closed during the pandemic. And there was one, I think there's one still in Queens. I've never been to it. I've never been to the one in Manhattan either. I just walked past it a bunch. Um, I've only been to the one in Braintree, Massachusetts,
Mm-hmm.
because my niece used to absolutely love that place.
Weird.
Yeah.
What did you think about her being salted that the DJ wouldn't play Wu Tang?
So that was really funny too, and I like that it took the guideline coming off for her to start really looking around and being like, "This
Mm-hmm.
isn't Staten Island anymore," and like,
She burned it off herself too. She was just like, "Oh, the little voice, like maybe she's not your
right.
friend."
um, I thought that was funny because as like she's saying, this is supposed to be all about Staten Island. You're playing the
Mm-hmm.
Beastie Boys who rapping about the city as a whole. The bartender is making Manhattans instead of a Staten
Mm-hmm.
Island ferry.
Which I
You
now
know,
need to drink.
yeah, I need to like. Should we just take a trip to Staten Island?
Yeah, Melissa lives there.
I've
Oh, and
only
my friend and Kate.
okay. We'll have to take
Yeah,
a trip. I've only gone there for work, so I've never
I go
gone
there and
past
eat
like where the
German
ferry
food.
is. Hmm.
Visit friends and eat German food.
I used to work like walking distance from the ferry. It was like a second office for where I was working. So I've never
Mm-hmm.
gone past like the buildings by the ferry.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
down. We do
And I
that.
haven't been there in over a decade.
Oh wow,
Yeah.
wow! I go
I've
twice a
never
year,
had like
two
a
or three
reason to
times a
go.
year. Yeah.
I don't really
I
know
guess if I
anybody
didn't have
there.
friends out there, I wouldn't go either.
Yeah, one friend I had out there, but he always came to Manhattan to hang out.
As he
So
should.
guy used to live on Staten Island. He's from Staten Island.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, so I haven't been there in over a decade. I've just had nothing to bring me there really, and I don't know it well enough to be like, oh, there's this place on Staten Island like to go to, because like I hardly ever go to
Mm,
Queens, but I do sometimes.
yeah.
I have friends in Queens, and
City's a big
that's where I
place.
go to eat Chinese food. when I want to do sit down Chinese. I don't have a favorite
Mm.
place, so I can't recommend anywhere. But I was craving soup dumplings one time and was like, I need to go to like Queens. No, hot pot. I was craving hot pot. That's
Oh
what it
yeah,
was.
you gotta go to Queens.
Yeah. Anyway, I that was quite a diversion.
Tangent.
Yes.
Hmm.
The older cities, it would be kind of cool to like understand their backstories because
Mm-hmm.
they're just so old. And so it's hard to imagine what the world was like for them back then.
Yeah.
You know, we
Yeah.
find out London's so old. So London's been a city since what, they say like the 1800s or 1700s or something,
1700s. Yeah,
1700s.
1700s.
So like she remembers going to school and like not having food. No, not going to
Right.
school
She's
and
like
not
not
having
from going to
food
school, not having food. She's like, at least you guys had schools.
and lunch. And it's like, oh shit,
Hmm.
yeah, a new city.
Yeah.
You are hundreds of years old. And then
You know,
think about how young New York is. It's not even a year
mm-hmm.
old. It is an infant.
Yeah.
Like what is a year to a city that's been alive for 5,000 years?
Mm-hmm. Because it says
And
like this, because this is happening like 3 months from the first book. So like,
yeah,
yeah, I don't know where
it's not
babies
even
are
a
at three
year.
months, but like,
Not very far. Like their heads are still all loose.
mm,
You know, they can lift them, but like their
mhm,
heads are still pretty loose. Like they're very, very useless at that age. They don't really
yeah.
do much of anything. Um, you know, it actually reminds me of in Broken Earth when we learn about the people who became the Stone Eaters, how they're so
Right.
old that they lost count,
Yeah. They
and
don't
they're
even
just
know their
kind of
names anymore.
they're like, I'm roughly 30,000 years old. I don't remember my name. I've lost track of the exact number of years, and time means
Hmm.
nothing. Like that's how I think
Yeah.
of the older cities.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. I love thinking about the older cities. I would do like I'd take some like short stories just about, little vignettes of the older cities from back in the day.
You know, I think it would be cool to have like a story about the beginnings. So like little vignettes about the different stories coming alive.
Mm,
I take that
yeah.
as like a side project,
Some secret novels.
especially London. I would love to watch London be born and realize she has to eat the other cities and then seeing her go mad. I would read
Hmm.
just that as a side novel. I think that would be really cool.
I like it. I like it. Whew, my goodness. I'm sleepy. Ah, let's see. What else is major in the book that we could talk about? As you can see, we're freestyling today.
Oh, of course. They've forgotten whole lifetimes by our measure. Absolutely.
Hmm.
Like what's the median life uh expectancy now? Like 70 something, 80?
Lower.
But like what is that in the span of somebody who's 500 years old?
77.28.
77. So not even 80.
Mm-mm.
That's nothing when you've been alive for 1,000 years.
No, that's like a sneeze. Barely.
You spent that much time putting your brows on. You know, and you,
Literally.
you add it all up, that's the amount of time you've spent just putting your eyebrows on, assuming these cities have eyebrows.
Some of them do, I'm sure.
Oh, you know what that reminds me of too? In The Wheel of Time, the Ogier, how he's like almost 100 years old,
Hmm.
and but he's like a teenager for their ages.
Right,
You know, when
right.
he tells them that he's 100 years old but wasn't allowed to leave the steading yet, and his mother's gonna want to marry him off soon. It's like, so you're like 18,
Yeah.
like that's. So yeah, 100
Hmm.
100 years for them is just a teenager. So 77 years is an infant still.
Yeah. That's so cool. I love manipulation of time in that way.
Time isn't real. Oh, another
Mm-mm.
fantasy reference check. Hey, it wasn't a Sanderson one though.
Yeah.
Well, AK, do you have anything we should talk about? As we lay. I don't know why that's the
I
song that
keep
came to mind.
thinking about the rally, or not the rally, but when they like in the friendlies invaded Nostrand Avenue and that whole thing with the frozen paintballs and all that
Right. And how she made the cars disappear in front of everyone,
in front of
where city
everyone.
magic isn't supposed to be seen.
Mm-hmm.
I
Yeah.
wondered like how, and like people actually caught it on their phones. So what I thought would happen, I thought that the videos just wouldn't work. Like people would record it, but like the video wouldn't work. But instead people recorded it and the video did work, but everyone thought it was
Mm-hmm.
doctored
Right.
because
And I
how
could
could the
understand
cars
that.
just disappear? I wouldn't believe it
And
unless I saw it
and
myself.
never reappear either. Like, where did they go?
Yeah.
That was my. I mean,
Or
I think that was my question the whole time. Like, well, where did like the
the
police ended up in their precinct, and their car just never reappeared, and those the friendlies never cars never reappeared. Where did they
also
go?
the car chase with Connell and the proud men.
Oh yeah,
Where did
I loved
Connell end
that.
up? I was glad that Connell came back.
Mm-hmm.
Like I was glad to see him again as just this horrible person.
Oh yeah, I love the chop shop reference. Like that was really cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
Ah.
I
And I think
liked
it was like really cool too because like like New York, the avatars are young, but New York is not young, not very, not young. And so to be able to draw upon past constructs that
mm,
like barely exist,
like
because of
Edgar Allan
gentrification and
Poe.
stuff. Yeah, yeah. I thought that was a really clever way to kind of like pull an entire, like dig through a city's entirety history, the entirety of a city's history is what I was trying
Right.
to say
I was
for
about to say
constructs and
something about
references.
Neek. I was about to say something about Neek, but I lost it.
His messy ass room.
Yeah. Oh,
Uh,
this isn't what I was gonna say, but I found it interesting how Padmini sees the world as just math.
mm-hmm.
And so everything is appearing as math and
Equations
equations.
and
And then she realizes that Neek sees the city as art. He
mm-hmm.
talks about the colors being dull.
Yeah.
I thought that was really cool because then Brooklyn sees the city as music. Bronca gets history.
Mm-hmm. It's so funny how they didn't all get the lexicon.
I know. It was like,
It was like the distribution of information was totally a failure here.
yeah,
Because do others does that happen with others? We didn't find out
I
if that
don't think
happens in
it's
other
supposed
cities
to.
too, right?
No, I don't think it's supposed to. I feel like New York was just like a whole bunch of shit going wrong that had
Yeah.
never happened before. And that's why the older cities
Mm-hmm.
were like, what is wrong with you guys? Like,
That's what I
grow
love
up.
what Paris acknowledges it, right? She's like, I have to remember that your entire existence has been with this happening. You don't
Yeah,
know anything else. You
a
know no
child
peace,
born
time of
into
peace.
war.
Yeah. Love that.
Yeah. Finding out that New Orleans was tried to be born and it
Hmm.
failed because, kind of a Hurricane Katrina reference.
Yeah.
And it makes you wonder what other cities you think about now. When you think about disasters that destroy whole cities, like what other cities attempted to be born and were
Hmm.
not.
Yeah.
Maybe Chicago attempted to be born before,
Maybe.
and that's why Manny's mother knew about it. Maybe she knew the person
Maybe.
who
I mean,
was
because what they're seeing is that there's a bunch of, let's call it, seismic activity, right? In Avatar land. Like people they're starting to want to be born, and all the conditions are right. It's just, the Ur keeping it from happening.
yeah. Do you want to talk about Neek and Manny's romance?
Their romance. What's there to say? Besides the fact that everybody else knows that there's tension between them. And it's
Right.
just like a matter of them acknowledging it between themselves and like getting on with it already.
Oh, AK mentions the cities in California. It makes you think of the wildfires in LA.
Hmm. Or just
Maybe every time,
earthquakes.
and the earthquakes, maybe every time LA tries to be born, it gets hit with like wildfires and earthquakes.
Mm-hmm.
Because LA seems like
Drought.
a city that should have been born. Right, the droughts.
Yeah,
Where else?
totally.
Miami, hurricanes.
Mm-hmm.
Because New York was the first living city in the US, right? There were no
Yeah.
other living American cities.
No, they were all ancient cities before.
Right.
Nick
What was I gonna say about Neek?
and Manny.
No, it was something else. Something Neek said that we were talking about something, and I was like, I'm gonna put a pin in that, but then the pin fell out. What other cities do you think tried to be born? LA, Miami, or seem like obvious ones. I think maybe Chicago tried to be born and was like somebody that Manny's mother knew.
Mm-hmm.
Why she would know about it.
Philadelphia.
Philly. What would have taken down Philly?
Mm.
I would love to see the Philly constructs.
That would be really fun.
Oh, here's from AK. There's a plot point. Why were American cities so systematically put down every time? I think because it's such a young country. So the cities are even younger. And so by then the Auras had a lot of practice.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just kind of swatting them down like flies. I don't know. That's my guess. Like, why didn't DC come alive? DC would have a ton of constructs.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe because its size. Is
Maybe.
DC considered a city? Or is it considered just the
It's a
district?
district. The district. It's a city, though. It is a city,
Yeah, it's a
so
city though.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I know it's
Hmm.
District of Columbia, but it's just DC. And oh my gosh, so what if it was DC and like Baltimore and uh what city is that? Where the CIA is in Virginia? Langley. And like those three become like the DC
Mm.
uh like the avatar, and it's the
Oh,
primary.
it's right.
DC becomes the primary, but it includes Langley and Baltimore. Because like the CIA, you don't really think of Virginia, you still kind of think DC, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then Baltimore is so close. People always say, "Oh, I'm from the DMV," DC, Maryland, Virginia. So I think DC would be a primary and have an avatar from Maryland and an avatar from Virginia, and they'd just be like the DMV. Uh, you know, what would be a little bit scary?
DMV avatars.
Oh, I would. Yeah, I'd love to see the Philly constructs. That's another thing. I would love to know like what the constructs are. Like we got the London subway system.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I don't think we really saw a lot of other constructs. We saw Istanbul with the T.
Yeah.
What else from the other cities? Was there one for Paris?
I don't
Because we
remember.
get Sao Paulo smoking cigarettes to emulate pollution.
Yeah, constantly.
Like Paris just throws dog shit. I'm-
It's like, is it baskets? Is it,
yeah,
tiny
tiny
little
pastries in her
pastries,
purse.
macaroons?
Like ah.
Uh, It reminds
We
me of
did,
that thing that I sent you yesterday. I actually sent AK to the AI generated villains based on country.
yeah,
Yeah, it's like
yeah,
all the constructs and stereotypes wrapped into one to create the super villain.
yeah,
I
yeah.
should share that on our thing because I thought it was really, really interesting and just rich with inspiration for story time.
The Jamaican one was terrifying. I
Yes, it
went and looked
was.
for that one.
Hmm.
Paris tossing croissants like grenades. I would love that. I would
Yeah.
absolutely love that. I would, yeah.
Hmm.
There's just so much you can do with this story. I expect there must be, or there should be, a bunch of fanfic soon about the
Hope
different
so.
cities. I don't write fanfic and I barely read it, but someone should do it. I support it. I guess we're wrapped up because I don't think we have any. Oh, we were talking about Neek and Manny's romance.
Oh, right. Well, I feel like Manny's level of restraint is
It's
admirable.
commendable.
It's just like, the hell? Like, how did you hold back for so long?
Also,
Like,
he sounds fine as hell because
I was just, yes,
everybody
everybody.
is thrown
Yeah.
off by how gorgeous he is. Like, I want to see Manny. Who would play Manny? Oh, I know one thing I wanted to say is the woman in
Mhm.
white. I want if this makes it to screen, I want the woman in white to be Kate Blanchett so bad. So
Mhm.
so bad I want it to be Kate Blanchett. Who do you think would play Manny? Like who is unreasonably fine and racially ambiguous, but you can kind of tell they're black?
Oh,
Because that's
jeez.
that's like very specific, but it's
It is
kind of how
very
he's described.
specific.
Like he's black, but is he? But also
Yeah,
really fine. That's a tough one.
that is a tough one. It's like I can't think of anybody current. I'd be like digging back through like my 90s TV land to find this.
They'd have to
Um,
use an up and comer, somebody who's like
mhm.
a model turned actor, but like good at it.
Beautiful.
Just beautiful. Like
Just
my jaw
everybody
should
wants.
drop every time they cross the
Yeah.
screen.
Yeah. It'd be like a mixed version of the dude from Bridgerton, the first season.
Yeah, everybody loved
Yeah.
him.
Ugh, so gorgeous. That's the only reason I watched it.
I should watch it.
Yeah, we can watch it.
I
I
can
feel
never
like
remember his name. I know it sounds French. That's
I
about
just
all
know
I
it's the
got.
Duke.
But yeah, he could be Manny. I could see him being dangerous. He's not like racially ambiguous, but I think we can let that slide.
Yeah. We'll just like throw a hot comb through his hair and make it wavy.
Yeah, give him a texturizer.
Yeah.
What about Neek?
Casting for Neek?
Yeah.
Oh, geez. A spindly youth?
Oh, you
I
know
don't
who I
know. I don't
picture as
know. I
Madison?
honestly
Oh, what's her name?
don't
Hold
watch
on.
enough anymore.
Okay, I'm gonna tell you who I think for Madison. I know her name, but it's not like in my mind at the second. What was she in? Hold on. You go ahead. I'm gonna look this up.
I got nothing to say.
Oh,
I can't, like, I'm not good. I like asking me to name actors is just like embarrassing because I don't remember anybody's names ever. And I should,
Natasha
and I just
Lyonne.
don't.
That's Madison to me.
Oh, yeah, I could see that. Yeah, yeah,
Like
yeah.
she's Madison, right?
The Russian doll chick.
Yeah, 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 yeah. I had to look up Orange is the New Black because I knew she was in that. I couldn't remember the name of
Oh,
Russian
that's
doll.
right. She's in that too. Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, I could see her playing Madison. She's so New York.
Mm-hmm.
She's so New York. So yeah, I picture her as Madison. Madison's role would have to be stretched out a bit to have someone like her play it, though.
Mm-hmm. But I feel like even not, it would just like, well, oh yeah, you mean just like as far as budget and screen time goes? Yeah.
Yeah,
But I feel
yeah,
like if the
her.
story's done well enough, like I would throw in I'd want a cameo in this. I would just be like just straight up New York people, like in cameos, doing random things throughout the screen, you know?
Yeah, and
Just like,
I'd want her to like be herself. You
yeah.
know, she doesn't have to be exactly like Madison in the book. Just be Natasha Lyonne and just yell at the cars and shit. I could just like picture it in my mind. I can picture it in
Hmm.
my mind. Who else? What about Brooklyn? Brooklyn is a
What's her
little
name?
older.
Jean Grey.
But does she act? She wrote the raps for Brooklyn.
I
Did you know
think that
that?
she does act sometimes
Did you know she wrote the raps?
for.
Brooklyn.
Oh no, I didn't know that.
Yeah, she's the one who wrote Brooklyn's raps.
Oh, that's what's up. We'll see.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Right.
Um,
Do we know any? What other rapper could play Brooklyn? Because I feel like it would have to be somebody who could actually rap. Rapping's not easy. I tried it.
Farrah Boulay.
Farrah Boulay. I can picture her face, but I can't think of her songs. Is she old enough to play Brooklyn?
I don't know, but Black doesn't crack and all that.
A few years ago, IK says a few years ago, I'd say MC Light.
Mm-hmm.
Queen
Yeah.
Latifah. What am I thinking? She's in the right age range.
Mm-hmm.
She can rap and act. This would have to be big budget for the people that
Yeah.
I'd want in it.
Well, of course.
Queen Latifah could play Brooklyn, even though she's not from Brooklyn. I could see that. I'm gonna sit down and fan cast this. Well, I think that's about it. I don't think we have much else to talk about the book, and we're coming up on an hour
Yeah,
soon.
read it. It was good. We liked it.
All right.
We'll be
Well,
back
we'll
talking
be
about
back. Oh,
Interview with the
for
Vampire, 30
Interview with the
Tuesdays.
Vampire on 30 Tuesdays. That is January 24th.
Yes.
So
9
January
p.m.
24th, 9 p.m. We'll be talking about Interview with the Vampire. Absolutely
The
join us.
show,
It'll be
not the
the
movie.
show, not the movie. Yeah. We'll have our friend Kojo with us, and that should be pretty fun. Do we know what our next book is?
I don't know that we do. Hold on, I'm scrolling ahead. I don't think we have a next book yet. No, I just scrolled ahead. I was going to say that we should maybe outline our books for the year, but we could talk about that later.
Yeah, we talked that off
Yeah.
off camera. Well, if you want to find out the next book once we have it, follow us on social media. Instagram, Wine on an Empty Stomach. And for non-book club stuff that we're doing, you can go to 1000 Eyes and One on Instagram and Facebook. If you want to follow us on Twitter, 1000 Eyes 1 ONE is our Twitter, and that's usually me. And Instagram is usually Nick, and Facebook is a toss-up. You can also look at past episodes here on YouTube, 1000 Eyes and One podcast, or go to 1000 Eyes 1. No, sorry, 1000 Eyes Podcast.com for episodes. We really just post the episodes there. So if you really want updates, definitely follow us on social media, Twitter and Instagram mostly.
Yeah.
Yeah. And with that, we bid you adieu. Thank you for watching. Bye.
Bye.